Elon, Hamas said that they couldn't release the names of the hostages being released today because of technical difficulties. They said the names had to be passed through a number of channels. It was all taking a lot of time. I gather you're not buying that excuse at all. I think you said earlier this is just psychological terrorism.
Yeah, I don't buy good faith excuses from a jihadi death cult that is holding a 2-year-old baby and refuses to tell us whether he is alive. I'm sorry, that's not credible. Today, after 15 months of fighting out of civilian clothes, Hamas fighters suddenly rediscovered their uniform and they've gone on parade in Gaza already. They're trying to send a message to people inside Gaza. We're in control and we're not going anywhere. And that's a terrifying prospect, not just for Israel, because Hamas is promising to do October 7th again and again, but also for people in Gaza who don't want to be under the boot of this jihadi regime. This is a regime, unfortunately, that still remains very much in control in Gaza. And if they can find their uniforms and go on military parade this morning, they can give the names of the hostages they're starving and torturing and raping and executing in underground tunnels and need to give back to us now.
I guess this is the thing, Elon. Israel has had to do a deal with the devil, basically. Yeah. I mean, did Israel really have no other choice, though? They're going to release prisoners in exchange, but what other options really could have been on the table here?
We have made a deal with the devil, a devil who wants us dead, but the devil has our babies. And so Israelis feel we have a gun to our heads. I mean, imagine if jihadists invaded your town, abducted your daughter, and said that they want you to release a dangerous terrorist who will abduct your mother tomorrow from jail, or they're going to shoot your daughter. That is the blackmail that we are suffering right now, and Israel has decided to pay the ransom. Hamas is holding children for a ransom, and we are paying the ransom. And Israel hopes that after months of fighting, we have improved the price, so to speak. But here's the problem. Israel has been left largely alone against the ransom takers. The whole world has been saying, strike a deal, strike a deal. That means just pay the ransom. And what's really important is that we put pressure on the ransom, the people holding the hostages for a ransom, and on their patrons. Hamas is supported by countries. It's supported by Qatar, by Turkey, by Iran, by South Africa. And we need pressure on those countries, the countries backing Hamas, in order to force it to let the hostages go. Because it's not right that the whole world comes to Israel and says, just give the terrorists whatever they want, just pay the ransom. No, we need pressure on the people who are holding the children for a ransom to let go of those poor hostages.
Elon, it's a high ransom. I think it's, one Israeli hostage for about 50 Palestinian prisoners. Two questions. Tell us about the Palestinian prisoners who are being released back into the community as part of this deal. And second, what happened to all of those people talking about proportionality when it came to Israel's actions? They've suddenly gone very quiet now when this deal requires 50 Palestinian prisoners to be released for every one hostage.
Quite right. The issue of proportionality does not interest the Palestinians or their supporters when they are able to get more convicted terrorists out of jail than the innocent citizens snatched from their beds we're getting back. We're talking about around 750 security prisoners, many of them convicted terrorists. They are serving life sentences for murder. Many others tried to murder Israelis, grievously injured Israelis. And it's been a very painful weekend, not only for the hostage families waiting to find out who's going to come out, but also for the relatives of people who were killed in suicide bombings and are now finding out that the people behind those suicide bombings are about to be released from prison. And that's agonizing for them because they want justice delivered. And the terrorists have just succeeded in blackmailing Israel into releasing the people behind suicide bombings back onto the street. But for us as a society, it really reminds us who we are and what we're fighting for. Because we're trying to get two innocent children who are snatched out of their beds, and the other side is trying to get the masterminds behind suicide bombings out of jail. So we know what side we're on.
Yeah, absolutely spot on. Elon, does this really mean an end to the war? Will there ever be a permanent ceasefire, really?
No, there's never going to be a permanent ceasefire because Hamas's reason for existing is to wage permanent jihad against Israel until we are all dead. As soon as the ceasefire was announced, Hamas went on TV and said it was proud of the October 7th massacre, of the acts of rape and torture and mutilation and beheadings, and it said that it would do it again and again. That is Hamas. Hamas's reason for being is to destroy Israel. So there's no such thing as a permanent ceasefire. I mean, that's an oxymoron. A permanent ceasefire is peace. And Hamas doesn't want peace. Hamas wants jihad until there's no more Israel. And you see that in Australia as well. Instead of celebrations on the streets, celebrating a ceasefire, they are pledging to continue the fight until there is no more Israel from the river to the sea. Because they don't want to live next to Israel. They want to replace Israel. And that is why Israel is so angry that the world has been pressuring it to end the war with Hamas still in power. Because Hamas is telling us that if this war ends with Hamas still governing the Gaza Strip, there will be a next time. And it will be worse. And it will be worse because Hamas will think that the world will keep saving it from the wars that it started. And that is why this war has to end with all the hostages released and with Hamas removed from power. Because otherwise, it's going to use all of that concrete that is going to pour into Gaza, all of those Australian tax dollars, not to rebuild people's houses, but to rebuild its war machine and the tunnels under those houses to prepare for the next October 7th massacre.
Yeah, and then history repeats itself over and over.
On a loop.
Absolutely. Elon Levy, it's been really great to speak with you. Thank you so much for your time this evening and the latest updates.